Welcome to GRE Snacks, snackable episodes about the GRE, GMAT, and graduate school admissions. I'm Tyler, founder of Achievable, and we have an affordable GRE course that includes everything you need to ace your GRE exam. A full textbook, videos on key topics, tons of GRE questions backed by our memory-enhancing algorithm, a built-in study planner and essay grader, and full-length practice exams. You can try it out for free by going to achievable.me, and if you like it, the code podcast will get you 10% off at checkout. Now, let's get started. Today we've got Dr. Dawn Martin with the Grad School Road Map on the show with us. And Dawn, I'd love if you could introduce yourself and your book.
Hey there, Tyler. Good to be with you again. Sure. I have a company called Grad School Road Map. We are in our 17th year now, and we offer expert consulting services just like Tyler, like you guys do on test prep. We offer some services related to the graduate school application process and how to go about maximizing that to your benefit. This company started while I was in the process of publishing a book back in 2008. I really had no intention of going out on my own, so to speak. After many years in higher ed as an admissions dean, I loved my work. But anyway, I was working on the book, and that's when I decided that I wanted to do this on my own. The title of the book is Roadmap for Graduate Study, a guide for prospective graduate students. It's in its second printing. The first one was in 2008. The second one was in 2018. And who knows, I may need to do a third one in 2028. We'll see. But it's been a great help to many students. And that's about the book and about what I do. And it's good to be back with you, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise. So today, this is a new topic I don't think we've covered here on the podcast. I'm really excited for it, which is that when you're looking at graduate school, you're evaluating a lot of different things. You're often evaluating, the school's reputation and job prospects and the individual program. But a part of it that has a massive impact on your experience there and potentially what your career will be afterwards is the faculty that work there and the research opportunities or work opportunities that are a part of that program. So I guess as a starting point, maybe just kind of talk to us a bit about, work programs or research programs within grad schools and kind of why they're important. And then I'd love to hear about how you research these things when you're a student.
Great. And I'm really thankful to know, Tyler, that you wanted to talk about this because in a way, it seems to me over the course of my career that this is often a best kept secret that isn't as well known to prospective students before they apply, or perhaps even more importantly, before they enroll in the graduate school that they're going to be attending. And I want to preface this by saying, while we're kind of talking about the world of MBA programs, perhaps this is actually across all graduate programs, certainly at the master's level. And I'll just say this, at the doctoral level, you will automatically, most likely, be doing research with a faculty member from the moment you start the program. That's part of what comes with the territory. Oftentimes, you will be paid full tuition to do this. It's called a teaching or research assistantship. So that's pretty. If you're thinking about a PhD, you get in. It is very likely that you will be working with a faculty member in that capacity. But at the master,
and it's also pretty likely that you got recruited by a specific faculty member to work with them, right?
In a lot of cases, yes, but not all. Sometimes faculty will admit someone to their program, and they don't really know yet which of their team, which of their PhD, or which of the professors this person is going to work with. But yes, it does happen that you might be recruited before you start. The way it happens is if you're going to be offered a teaching or research assistantship as an incoming PhD student, the faculty member that would like to work with you usually will reach out very soon after you were admitted, or they might even have that person's name and contact information on your admission letter for you to reach out to them and get started. That's usually how you'll know if you've already been identified as someone that's going to work with a particular faculty member in their lab or on their research. This is at the PhD level. But for master's programs, be they professional, law, medicine, business, or your regular academic, Master of Arts, Master of Science, there are a myriad of opportunities available to work with faculty, and these can be researched during the application process, hopefully a bit before the application process, as it could easily drive where you're going to apply based on what you find out. And the best way I know, let me say what they usually entail and then how to find out about them. There's usually two types of these opportunities. One is paid, the other is not. There could be a situation where a faculty member has been given a grant by a particular national organization or whatever to do research on something, and that grant includes hiring a student or two students to work with them and get paid for this.
Right.
And so that's one way. The other way would be that these faculty members are simply doing research and they're looking for someone who would like to study alongside of them and be part of this, but not be getting paid for it. That also happens. And so these opportunities are plentiful. Most students in professional programs, law, medicine, business, probably due to the expense of the program and the constraints of it, they're not going to take on a position like this unless they're being paid. It's going to be, or in some cases, maybe they're going to be given actual credit for it. So, but at the Master of Arts, Master of Science level, it's a lot more likely that someone would engage with a faculty member in some sort of research, even if they weren't being paid. The best way to find out what is going on with faculty research is a couple of ways. First of all, I wish this was the case at every institution. Unfortunately, it isn't. But there are times where an institution on their website will have a section under they all have a faculty section, but sometimes there underneath that there could be a link that says current faculty research, what we're currently doing, and that would be one way to find out what's happening on that campus or in that particular program right now by way of faculty research. A second way is that if you, as a prospective student, are, and I hope you're all doing this, whoever's listening to this, I hope this is one of the criteria that you're going to use, is that you're looking at the faculty of the program or programs you're interested in well before you apply. You can always do an individual search on them, just themselves. And oftentimes, either if they have a website on the institution's internet or website, official website, or they may have their own website, they will clearly be listing all of the research they have done or are currently doing. And then what's nice about that is you could reach out to them before you apply and tell them, I am really interested in what you're doing. Is there any chance you will be taking on any master's students to work with you in the coming year or two? And that can be tremendously helpful to get the ball rolling, get the conversation started.
And it's also like it's real demonstrated interest. Right?
It's very impressive, actually. And one last quick other way is, if that didn't seem to work and yet you want to do this, when you get, and you still end up obviously choosing a particular program, once you're there, you would go to the director of faculty services or the academic, chief academic officer, so to speak, of the institution and let them know about your interest and let them direct you accordingly.
Understood. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's important also to understand that in a lot of ways it's like a reverse job search or like a reverse hiring process. Like you want to make sure that you are going to want to work for these people and on these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is, I when you and I have spoken before, Tyler, and other about graduate school, I often say, yes, people go to graduate school because they want to advance their career and they want to, perhaps have more opportunities and more income and all that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the real purpose, in my opinion, of doing this is to really learn and develop further expertise in your chosen field of study. And what better way to do that, along with your academic coursework and your curriculum, than to get to work with a faculty member while you're there? I mean, that to me, that's like the creme de la creme. And many students don't think about this. I think one of the reasons is they may think, well, I would never be paid for that and I don't have the time, which might be possible for some of them. But there are lots of these opportunities. And when you do your due diligence, when I talk about doing research on graduate programs, there's a whole section in my book about reaching out to faculty. And who doesn't like somebody to reach out to them and say, you're an expert in this field and I'd love to work with you. And I mean, of course, that's an ego boost right off the bat. But more importantly, it's a huge and very positive icebreaker. And it can really result in some amazing opportunities to collaborate with faculty. And, it could be that you reach out to them the first time and they say, no, but check back with me in 6 months. And you do. And lo and behold, they've gotten a grant. So it's a wonderful opportunity.
Well, and it'll give you a little bit of a sense of who they are, because a lot of times, if like they're kind of rude to you, if you're asking for more information, that's a data point, right?
It is.
I actually think maybe that's like a good thing to just kind of include in this conversation. High level, like what are some of your best tips for reaching out to faculty, just like tactical things?
A couple come to mind. First of all, your outreach should always be via email. You don't call them on the phone. You don't get their secretary, and that's just not going to fly. You make the first outreach via email to them. Secondly, the message you send needs to first and foremost focus on them as opposed to you. Many faculty get turned off by a student saying, hello, I'm writing to see if you'd like to take any students. Now let me tell you all about myself. Well, that fact, in most cases, I can tell you right now, as we know, faculty members have huge egos and they can be very easily offended. And if you've got to build them up a little bit when you reach out. So your message needs to say something like, I've been doing some research on the XYZ master's program at XYZ University, and I've come across information about you and your expertise, and I'm very intrigued. And in particular, some of the research you've done in the past or are currently doing really is right up my alley. It's something I'm interested in doing. And is there any opportunity that I might have to chat with you a little more about this current research and any more that you might be doing in the future? You get an email like that from somebody. Now, I'll talk about the fact that this rudeness factor in just a moment, but you get a message like that 8 times out of 10, Tyler, that person's at least going to get something back. They will get a message back from the faculty. And so that's, to me, is you keep it short. Do not. One of my students I coached, a doctoral student, didn't get in the first time around, and so we were working with them on their second time around, and they shared with me some of the messages they'd sent to faculty. Well, these messages were 2 and 3 email pages long with 25 questions. No way. It's you keep it short. It's focused on them, not you, and it's obviously a very respectfully submitted email message, and that will make a difference in terms of getting responses.
Great. Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, like you already have alluded to, if you're trying to figure out what the research opportunities are at these schools, so many of them are actually kind of like buried behind the grant process and the fact that, like, there might not, they'll be available later but not now, and if you weren't already kind of on the list, then you might not hear about them in time, right? So I feel like this really correlates with, like, this is a key way to find out what the research opportunities are or are going to be.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. It's you're doing research on the research is really what you're doing, and it is a very,
well, it's like you're researching your job almost.
You
right?
got it. You are, and because so few students do this, Tyler, when they do reach out and prepare a good message, it is very impressive. It does. This is, we often talk about how can I distinguish myself as an applicant. This is really one way that you can do that, because it still happens very rarely. And so you're right. You're researching your not only your program of study per se, but you are researching your possible future. And now this does not, I don't want to give anybody false hope, but it has happened on occasion that some students did this at the master's level. Their professors were so impressed with them, they didn't have to go through a regular PhD application process. They were admitted with a full ride to continue the research with that faculty member. They really had the rest of the way pretty much paved for them, just because they started out with something at the master's level. And even if it doesn't end up, most MBA students are not going to pursue a PhD. Most law students are not going to do that. But working with a faculty member for resume purposes, using recommendations later in your life, it will never, right. It will always be a huge plus for you, whatever the context that relationship is used down the road.
Great. Yeah, and I'm also wondering, so now, to kind of just throw another scenario at you, let's say that you actually have, 2 or 3 or even 4 like good research opportunities in front of you that you could pursue. You've really done your homework. How do you kind of pick, right? How much does the opportunity itself versus like the school kind of weigh into things, right?
Well, this is an excellent, excellent question. And this, I'll say something generally and then get more specifically about what you asked me. Generally speaking, as I've often said, doing research on graduate programs is truly about finding the best place for one person and one person alone. You. Not your boyfriend and girlfriend, not your parents, not your advisors, not your employers. It's about you. And if you find an opportunity to work with a faculty member that seems to be just amazing in terms of your interaction with them, your relationship with them, what this is going to do in terms of opening some doors for you, I would think that would be a major factor in your final decision about whether to go to that school. And again, even if you're not getting a lot of financial aid at that point, but you have, and especially if you are considering a future in research, this is something you want to continue doing in whatever capacity. It's a no-brainer. You get an opportunity to work with an amazing faculty member. That's gold. Now, if you've got a couple to what your point, what if you have a couple opportunities? What do you do? Well, that's part of what happens, just like when you get admitted to 5 different programs and you have to choose one. You have to weigh some of the benefits or what you believe would be the most positive elements of working with this individual and what you might not consider to be as positive. Not every situation will be absolutely perfect. Probably none of them are. And so this is where, in my opinion, the type of research that this person is doing, what you would be actually helping with, and how do you believe your relationship with that person would be? Do you think, in fact, to me, that's almost more important than anything. If you sense a fit with that person's personality, you guys, the best way I know how to describe this is one time I met with a search firm representative about a position I'd been contacted about, and I don't know how to explain it. There was a bond that formed. We were together 3 hours that day for what was supposed to have been a 1-hour interview, and we've been friends for life. It was just, and if you get a situation like that with a faculty member where there's this amazing connection, and then on top of that there's research that you are interested in, that would guide, I think, which option you would ultimately choose.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, it is about the people.
Oh, amen. I totally agree with you. Totally.
Great. Well, is there anything that we haven't covered yet on this topic that you feel like it would be amiss if we didn't bring in?
Let me just say this. I am so grateful, Tyler, that you asked me that we could talk about this because it just doesn't get discussed as often. So to those listening, you're very fortunate that you have elected to participate in this podcast, not because of me personally, just because Tyler had the vision to want to discuss this. But I just want to say, when you go for a master's program, half or more of the time you spend in that program will be with your faculty. And it is so critical that this is a very important element of what I call finding the best option for you. We all mesh with some people and we don't mesh with other people. So this is a time when you don't decide to go to a school because somebody else told you they like the faculty. You need to experience them for yourself. And even if you don't do research with them, but just faculty research, learning about the men and women you will study with and who will guide your program and your learning. I can't emphasize that enough. That should be one of the very top elements of your research. So that's just don't let that go. Don't let somebody else do that work for you. Don't rely on alumni. Don't rely on current students. They can be helpful, but this isn't their journey, it's yours. So take the time to do the research that you really need to with the faculty.
Great. Thank you so much. This has been GRE Snacks, hosted by Tyler from Achievable with Dr. Don Martin from Grad School Road Map. And Achievable has a great online GRE course that you can try for free at achievable.me and use the code podcast to get 10% off.